First, I'd like to say good morning to everyone. Thank you for coming out on this hot day. This event was scheduled for a couple of weeks ago on May 30th, which was the month that we recognized the National Historic Preservation Month. But on May 30th, we had a tropical storm that affected us, and we could not have the program here due to the rain. So again, I thank you for adjusting your schedule and coming back out to help us celebrate this historic event. I'd just like to say that this has been a long time coming. It's been over 2.5 years that we met with one of the citizens here, Miss Elizabeth Ohree, which lived right across the street. We met around her kitchen table along with staff, and we was trying to come up with some ideal or some plan how we could preserve and save the Lincoln Park Restaurant and Motel. It was at that point we found out that Lincoln Park was the first planned subdivision for African American. And so we began to put our heads together and apply for this area to become a historic district. So it was 2.5 years later that Ken Graves, along with our city manager, Charles Penny, gave me word that we had been approved and that the Lincoln Park community would be recognized as a local historic district. So I'd like to thank staff for doing that. I say this is a historic day for Rocky Mount because currently we have 6 historic districts in our city. But this is the first community, the first African American community that has been recognized as a historic district. It was in 1948, I read an article that our governor of North Carolina, Governor Carr, and a visiting governor from the Virgin Islands, Virgin Hasty, came to Rocky Mount to visit Rocky Mount to see the progress of whites and Negroes during that time, and they were impressed with the race relations that was taking place during that time. And on the tour, the Governor Hasty and the Governor of North Carolina visit many areas here in Rocky Mount. One of the stops was Ohree Pope School, and they went over to Raleigh Road to Miss Nanny Parker and had lunch along with other distinguished guests and residents here of Rocky Mount and elected officials. And then they came here to the Lincoln Park Restaurant and Motel and visit the Lincoln Park community. And it was an article that he was standing there with the governor and Henry Gregory and along with Tuffy Bryant inspecting one of the homes on Ellison Drive. And he said that this is one of, this set precedents for the entire country that he could take back to his country, that his people could have a decent quality of life and decent housing. It was here that he stated in Rocky Mount that he was among high cotton. So I just want to say this morning that I'm among high cotton this morning. We didn't have a motorcade that escorted them here, but he was welcomed by many local officials, which I see, and Mayor Pro Tem Reuben Blackwell would acknowledge that. And he had other distinguished guests along with the residents here of the Lincoln Park community. So again, I just want to say that you are honored and you are privileged to be among high cotton this morning. And so, again, I just want to emphasize that this is a historic moment for our community, that we recognize and preserve our culture and our heritage by the unveiling of the marker which represent the Lincoln Park community and the Lincoln Park Restaurant and Motel. And the last thing I want to say before the invocation from Reverend Locus come, that this is very dear to me because my aunt and my uncle was the owners of the Lincoln Park Restaurant, and my grandmother for many years from 1953 to 1988 was one of the main cooks, the lead cooks here at the Lincoln Park Restaurant, and their photos are featured to my left. And so I just want to say that this is a very historic moment. I remember coming here many a days, getting that good barbecue, the pig barbecue, and homemade peach cobbler and blueberry cobbler. And so it really brings back memory, and I'm just so honored that this community and that this landmark has been recognized, and now we are considered one of the local historic districts in the city of Rocky Mount. So at this time, we're going to have our invocation from our resident of the Lincoln Park community, Reverend Curtis Locus, at this time.
Let us pray. This is a day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Our help comes from the Lord who made heaven and earth. We don't know what today nor tomorrow will bring in the way of our lives, but we do thank God and the city leadership for Lincoln Park's source of home sites. Councilman Ohree Knight has been paddling around here for a good number of years now, and we just thank God for blessing him to do the things that he has been doing in the way of leadership and planning. Council Knight's leadership and goodwill has been on circuit for a good number of years. We do thank God for all of you that have come out today, and we ask that you look to the Lord for the great blessing of leadership. And we thank God for the opportunity to lead us in our prayer today. Thank you and amen.
Good morning to you all. And thank you, Reverend Locus, for leading us in prayer and meditative thoughts. And I will not be very long because I don't know what makes cotton so high, but I know it must have something to do with the heat. So we thank God for the city staff that had the foresight to bring some tents to help us celebrate today in comfort. On behalf of Mayor David Combs and the entire Rocky Mount City Council, we would like to say congratulations to the residents and the people who have inherited the great legacy that Lincoln Park has made, not just in Rocky Mount and in North Carolina, but across the country. And I don't think that anybody recognizes that what they do will have impact beyond their own community or their own families. But what has been done here in Rocky Mount really has made a difference across the rest of this country. And I think this is very fitting that this is, as Councilman Knight said, there were 6 neighborhoods prior to this Lincoln Park designation, and now Lincoln Park makes the 7th. And if you're a scripture person like I am, 7 is a number of completion and perfection, isn't that right? So Lincoln Park, you just made it right. You've made it right. And we appreciate what you have done, and we thank God for what we'll see now to come in the future. I would like to recognize those other members of City Council who are here, and I think I see Chris Miller, Lamont Wiggins, and am I missing anybody? Lois Watkins, I thought, was on the way. I'd also like to recognize that we have our District Attorney, Robert Evans. We have our District Court Judge, Tony Brown. So good to see both of you here. It's great to have them here. And our County Commissioner, Leonard Wiggins, who's also a resident here, who is the Chairman of the Board of Commission for Edgecombe County. We really appreciate your presence here, but I think it also speaks about the legacy and the potential for the future that we have in our community. And then finally, before I would depart, I would like to express appreciation from the community to Councilman Knight for pushing to never let it rest the heritage and the accomplishments of all people in this area. So thank you, Councilman Knight, for your leadership. And as I leave, I want to thank God for City Manager Charles Penny and his great staff that are working hard to put legs and arms to the ideas and the dreams that we have, that this city will be the very best place to live for everybody in the United States. So we just want to do something again. Look, this is a place where I understood that nationally recognized artists came. I heard Mahalia Jackson might have eaten at this table. God, no, I don't know what Dizzy Gillespie. We know Thelonious Monk has somebody coming through somewhere. Why can't we do that again? Can we do that again? Why can't we have some festivals that bring those folk back here again, so we're not just looking back in time, but we're looking forward to a great future? Thank you again so much, and thank you for your leadership.
Good morning, dignitaries, fellow citizens, and friends. To paraphrase a quote by John Ruskin, it is again no question of expediency or feeling whether we should preserve the buildings of past times or not. We have no right whatsoever to touch them. They are not ours. They belong partly to those who built them and partly to all the generations of mankind who are to follow us. How fittingly does this quote summarize our purpose for being here today? Many of us can remember that more than 50 years ago, someone had a vision that there needed to exist better housing in the city of Rocky Mount for African American families who wanted to experience home ownership. Additionally, a facility was needed for social gatherings and housing for visitors in the city. From this vision was born the Lincoln Park Housing Subdivision, as well as the restaurant and hotel. Prior to their construction, there were few hotels for African Americans, and there was a shortage of housing opportunities for the influx of young couples. As a young child, I can remember the excitement and enthusiasm expressed throughout the community when news of the proposed housing subdivision and the restaurant and hotel was made public. For prior to that time, this was pretty much a cow pasture. Today, I stand before you with the same degree of excitement as we celebrate the designation of the Lincoln Park area as the 7th National Historic District in Rocky Mount, and to unveil a permanent marker to assure the fact that all of the generations that follow us will have a unique view of our past history, culture, and way of life as it was impacted by the Lincoln Park neighborhood.
Good morning. On behalf of 900 city employees, I bring you greetings. This indeed is a historic moment in Rocky Mount that we could establish the 7th National Historic District in our city. So I want to thank Andre and the folks that met around the table for leading us there, and then staff for spending the time to submit the paperwork to make it happen. So while I'm standing here, could I just get all city employees, if you're here, just raise your hand. Just raise your hand. So could you appreciate our city employees? We never want to forget our history, because that history provides that strong foundation for launching into the future. In the last few weeks, and since I've been city manager now about almost 18 months, and one of the things that this council and the mayor have been strong about is that they want the best for our city. And one of the things that we've been saying is that we have to be bold, transformational, and we have to have game changers. Now, when you think about where we're going in the future, we're talking about some expensive things. But when you look back in history and you look back at the Lincoln Park development, in that time, that was a game changer for African Americans. So we've been making history for a long time, not just for African Americans, but for the entire city. We have a city that has been known for entrepreneurship, and we continue to do that. So we are expecting great things out of Rocky Mount because we love to have people come to our city and talk about the good things that we are doing, because we are doing great things in our community. So this morning, I say congratulations to residents of the Lincoln Park area, and congratulations to our city staff for the hard work they've done, and congratulations to Rocky Mount. Thank you.
Again, we appreciate all that our city manager and our staff are doing to make Rocky Mount a better place to live. Reuben Blackwell mentioned earlier that we want to bring those good times back. So I'd just like to see the show of hands of how many people who remember coming here, eating some of that good fried chicken, that barbecue, and ham hocks and collards or whatever else they here prepare. And also the dining room, they had many social gatherings here and dances here also. So it was a great thing during that time for our city. Also, I just want to make note of the homes that were built. Henry Gregory was one of the forerunners for race relations here in the city of Rocky Mount. He was one of the first gentlemen to hire a black teller at his bank, United Federal Bank, downtown Rocky Mount, and he also was instrumental in getting, I believe, Mr. Gray in human relations. So he pushed for race relations here in the city of Rocky Mount. And just with the planning of the Lincoln Park subdivision, I was just reading some articles about how he was very particular how the homes were built. They had hardwood floors, they had hot water tanks and storage houses in the back to store their items. And so he was very particular in how homes were constructed for the Lincoln Park residents. And so, again, we appreciate his foresight in race relations here in the city of Rocky Mount. At this time, we're going to ask Vannette Woods. She's the daughter of the late Clarence Pittman and the daughter of Miss Annie Sue Pittman, if she would come for remarks, and Mr. Alan Mercer. I don't see him, but if he's here, if he would come after Miss Woods and Elizabeth Ohree, and then we're going to have Miss Brenda Macklin Bynum.
This morning, I am so excited. I don't want to say I'm overjoyed, but I am so excited that the city of Rocky Mount has recognized this area and the restaurant and motel as a historic site. My father started as manager of the Lincoln Park Restaurant and Motel in 1953. At that time, I was in first grade and had no idea what it meant. To me, he just went to work and he did what he did, and I had no idea how historic what he did really was. And one of the things that always impressed me about him was that my father was not an educated man. He had a fourth grade education, but he was a hard worker, he was honest, and he was a man who did what he said he was going to do. And one of the things I think attracted him to Mr. Gregory, who actually built and owned the restaurant and motel when it was initially built, was the fact that my daddy was a man of integrity and that he would do what he said he was going to do. During my years of growing up, I still had no idea how important the Lincoln Park area or the Lincoln Park Restaurant and Motel was as far as African American history went. Again, that's just what he did. That's just what, when he got up in the morning, that's what he did. He started cooking barbecue shortly after the restaurant opened, and who knew that his pit cook barbecue would become so famous? We had people from New York to Florida to stop by and get barbecue, and if he could have shifted somewhere at that time, they wanted him to do that. My daddy was a hardworking man, but he also had a helper, my mother. My mother worked alongside him night and day to keep the restaurant and motel functioning for the 23 years that they were owners. And in 1976, I think it was, he sold the restaurant and motel because of his failing health. And at that point, I still didn't know how important it was. It was only until Andre Knight and Mrs. Ohree and a few others from the city contacted me about the proposed historic district. And we started talking about it, and I realized how important this area is. And I want to thank them so much for all of their efforts in getting this named a historic district and for the marker that will be unveiled. I would like to thank all of you who over the years were patrons of the restaurant and motel, and the homeowners down here in Lincoln Park were the best patrons. I thank you all, and I hope that we will continue to recognize our heritage and celebrate it. Thank you.
The Lincoln Park used to be a place for everybody to come and meet and greet and eat. We enjoyed sitting on our breezeway looking at the people who came. I've always been a good cook, but our son, Gregory Ohree, had to come and get a hot dog from Mrs. Pittman with her smiling face, no matter what I cook. I'm so glad to see this day. We need to continue to recognize the ones who have worked hard. Mr. Pittman, Mr. Clarence Pittman, worked very hard. It was a cooking place right over where the men are standing. And he would get up at about 4:30 or 5 o'clock, it must have been the first of the week, to start this cooking. And he would wake me up just like clockwork. Mrs. Pittman could always smile, and she knew so many of the residents by name. She could greet them. I'm sorry Gregory and Karen Ohree can't be here today. It is hard work right now for them. But we wish to thank you for coming, and please help us to keep this movement going. Thank you very much.
Good morning. Good morning. And thank each of you for coming out this morning to help us celebrate this commendable event, the historical event, where they're unveiling the marker for the Lincoln Park area. Second thing, we would like to thank the Mayor Combs, the City Manager Penny, Mr. Councilman Blackwell, and Andre Knight, and many others that helped out with this celebration today. When we moved, my husband John and my little family moved here in 1971. We were impressed with the Lincoln Park restaurant family and how they ran the business. They had good work ethics, they had moral standards, and the families of Lincoln Park made up Lincoln Park, made up the community. But we have definitely enjoyed the Lincoln Park area over the 41 years that we live here. We have a legacy also here. I have our son John Bynum and his family that lives in North Green. They don't live in Lincoln Park, but they're always visiting. And John grew up in the neighborhood, and how he enjoyed the other neighbors here in the Lincoln Park area. When we moved here again, it was the Dr. Armstrong and all the Armstrong families, the Chases, this Mr. Ohree, the Tillmans. I had a great aunt, which was my granddaddy's sister, May Macklin Harrison, that lived back there on Ellison Drive. And we just always enjoyed. We've seen many changes since 1971. We have this area in here paved. They've added a new daycare, which is the Pope Daycare in the area, in the community. We also have a whole new development of people, homeowners on the right, which is the pit, or where the Lincoln Park restaurant pit was. So it's a whole new development. And also the MLK Park has been added. And we're looking forward to seeing many, many more. So to me, this is a legacy for the Lincoln Park area and all the neighborhoods in the area. I'm going to ask my granddaughter, Denise, to stand up so you can recognize who she is. And my son and his wife, Donna, to stand up so you know who they are. Probably seen them around the Rocky Mount area, but just didn't know who they were, okay? And again, thank you, Mr. Penny, and please give them a hand for remembering us for this event and making it national. And enjoy yourself.
I'd like to thank those who had remarks. And as Ms. Bynum was stepping down, she said, I almost forgot what I was going to say. But she told me everything. She said, we better have a tent out here. And I saw them putting the tents up. And we better have some cold water, because we got a lot of elderly people that live out here. So we do have cold water for those you want to quench your thirst. Also, Miss Ohree, it was many days that we sat around her kitchen table, offering us a cold glass of water, not Kool-Aid or Sprite, but cold glass of water. She said we need to drink plenty of water, peanuts and nabs. So we thank God for her vision and her persistence in seeing something transform again in this community. Also, Vannette Woods, I had to track her down many a times to get the photos of her parents. And again, I just want us to celebrate Miss Annie Sue Pittman. She's 94. And it's just a blessing to have her still with us today. I used to take her and my grandmother to pick blueberries, and then they would stop by this place where you buy sausage and country ham across from the Rocky Mount Wilson Airport. And so I asked her the other day, it's about time for her to cook me another blueberry roll. So I just thank God for her commitment to her family and to her community, and for all the things that she and her husband and her family had done in the Lincoln Park community. Also, the residents, I think it's very few original residents that are still alive. I believe one may be in the nursing home. She's 91. But now we see new residents here, and it's still a well-kept community, and that's how we want to keep it, a very well-kept community.
I'm 82 years old. This is my wife's sister back here. Was made from New York City down and everything, and I really appreciate from the bottom of my heart that you were here. Like I say, and like I've said, wie geht's, comrades? Is it good with you? Do you understand Dutch? Well, anyway, I say this, and what I see now, if we are not the best, I don't know of anyone any better. God bless you. Hang in there and take care.
Mr. Mercer obtained the Lincoln Park Restaurant and Motel in 1975 to 1988 when he retired.
And I found out a lot of history myself about this place. I didn't. Miss Lancaster had the original postcard when they advertised this. She said they had it at a drugstore, and and that's where I think they got that copy from. The houses, a lot of the houses are the same colors and everything they were back then when they first built this neighborhood.
And I have really enjoyed since I've been living in Lincoln Park. 63 years. 63 years I've been living in Lincoln Park. And I still enjoy Lincoln Park.
I feel so proud and so thankful. I worked so hard with Andre and the other city councilmen, and to see this come true today is really, I'm just thankful to the Lord that I lived to see it. I'm 83.
We had a great neighborhood, and I was just impressed with it, and I'm pretty sure everybody that grew up here was impressed with it, you know, and everything. So, and it's still a great place to stay. It's a nice place to stay, and we appreciate the city for recognizing this. And we always call it the motel. We never call it the restaurant. We just say the motel to go get the barbecue. And I had a cousin that would come down from D.C. He would stop here first and then come to the house. He would load up on barbecue, load his trunk up and cool it with barbecue, and then he would visit us before he even came to the house. He would get his barbecue from here.